we got to ask you about Jerry screwing Brett up in Montreal, because this was all Jerry.
Hey, in our post meeting, you said you weren't going to bury me, John.
So, Earl, I don't know if this had anything to do with it. I was there that night, and you and Dave used to always get your beer and stuff, you know, for the car and stuff. And I don't remember if it was you or Dave, but one of you had your bags in the dressing room. And I remember asking Tim White, is anything going to happen tonight? And Tim had no idea. He goes, not that I know of, kid. I go, okay. So I saw you guys move your bags, and I said, what's up? I can't remember if it was Earl. I remember it was you or Dave. And I said, what's up, Dave, Earl? Oh, just moving our bags and get them into the car. So I didn't know if that was you guys had just found out or not, but it all seemed very suspicious.
Do you really want me to tell you?
Yes.
Do you want me to bury Brisco?
Yes. Yes. I want to bury Brisco.
Huh?
Yes.
Go ahead. I won't be the first time I've been buried. But
I love Brisco. I love you to death. And you know
I know you do, brother. I love you too.
But it is all his fault.
But when Brisco gave me the news, the number one man other than Vince McMahon, I told my brother, get my shit together. When Brisco was talking to me, he laid it out, and I go, I don't know. I just don't know. Brisco, this arm, Brisco graphic. What do you mean you don't know? He's got $3 million contract down there. Is he going to give you any of it? What are you going to do? I go, I don't know, Jerry. Bless his heart. And I go, man, whatever, you know? I'm going nuts now. But Brisco, I still got the bruise on my arm.
You just did it to yourself so you could tell this damn story.
So when Dave came to get your stuff, you had just told him.
Yeah, I said, get the car ready. This is all
okay, because I was in the locker room, and I remember, you know, after the fact, you realize what happened, but I didn't realize at the time. I said, what are you guys doing, Dave? And I saw him getting all the stuff together. And he goes, oh, no, just getting ready so we can get out before the crowd. I didn't realize that Jerry had already pulled this master plan.
Oh. And I'm going,
okay, here's what really happened. Earl was getting ready to come to the ring, and I know the Hebner's routine. They're the first ones out of the building. I mean, they can be on the after show and still be the first ones out of the building, because they had those ways of getting out. So I went to, Earl was getting ready to start the match. We were making all the introductions and everything. I called Earl those backstairs there, and I laid it out to him, you know, basically what Earl said, you know, and all that. And so, and I said, Earl, I said, you know, you got a good job. You're making good money, you know, the office depended on you because they know they could trust you. We couldn't go to anybody else to make this happen and everything. I said, you might want to have Dave get your baggage and have the car started and turned around and headed out of the building. Because if you remember Montreal, that parking lot down on the floor below the arena there, I mean, it was a jungle down there trying to get your car out, even on a good night, you know. So I didn't want them to get caught up in all the stuff there. But Earl vouched for the first guy I got out of the ring was who, baby Earl?
Me.
Was you. Come to you, and I walked you to the back. I passed you off to your brother and whoever else was in your car, and I could get out of here. Right. And you guys took off, you know.
Right.
So I made sure you were the first one out safely. So I was looking after you.
It's on the roll, but you know, it is what it is.
Hey, Earl, what were you thinking at the time? I mean, this had to be one of the craziest things ever told to you.
Well, the bad thing was when we left Ottawa to come to Montreal, Brett brought me a first class seat on Air Canada, right? He's talking to me. He goes, you won't count me out, will you? I go, no. I didn't count him out. If you go back and look. But, and I'm thinking, oh my God. And that was probably one of the stressful things I've ever done in my life. I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. Like Jerry said, I was on my way to the ring. And, you know, it's like your music's playing, you're standing there like Owen Hart. Got to go. And it was horrible. That ring, walking to that ring felt like 10 miles away. And I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? It was
Earl, I got to ask you, were there any doubts in your mind as you were walking to the ring? Am I going to do this, or was you pretty well that's what you told me you were going to do it?
I was pretty well zeroed in. I was going to do it because, the bad thing, you stop and think about this. You're only the person who made you. Okay. You got 40 guys that you've wrestled and they put you over and made you who you are. So regardless, if you're going down to the WCW with the belt, like Laundry Blaze, you're gonna throw it in the trash can, and then you're gonna hurt everybody's feelings, or you're gonna mess up everybody that's helped you be who you are. And I felt like, honestly, after talking to you and you talking to me, he was robbing the roster. He didn't care about nobody, in a sense, from what he wanted to do, what he could have done. And it was just, he was hurting everybody. And I couldn't see everybody, letting everybody down. You know what I mean? And it would, like you said, you gave me the deal, and I had to go forward to protect not only the company, but the boys. And that's my thoughts of it.
A lot of, that time was such a crazy time. We're losing to WCW at that time.
Right.
If we lose Brett, which we're already losing, this great champion, which we're losing, which scared me to death, losing Brett, because I'd never seen guys leave a territory. I remember Lanza was the one that kind of pulled me aside, and I said, I've never seen anything like this. I said, are we in trouble? He said, nah, we lost Hogan before, we lost Ward before. He said, that guy, he pointed to Vince. He goes, he'll figure it out. And which made me feel a lot better. But if you lose Brett and the championship, I mean, that's a huge blow. It's going to be really tough to recover from. It's such a weird times and such a weird dynamic of what was happening and what was going on with the dynamic between Brett and Shawn, that Brett didn't want to lose to Shawn in his home country. It was a very unique time in history.
Right. It was. But
and did you have an earpiece in, and did you know when the reverse sharpshooter was put on? Did you know then, or did you have an earpiece in to ring it?
Brisco told me Brisco told me when he puts a sharpshooter on, wait 3 to 5 seconds and ring the bell. And I didn't even I waited 3 to 5 seconds and rung your bell.
And Jerry, what were your thoughts? I mean, you're the one that had to talk to Earl. You're the one that had to convince him and lay out plan for it, everything.
You read history, and it sounds like I wasn't even there half the time because so many people take credit for this day, and I'm glad they do because I don't want credit for it, But talking to Baby Earl, I mean, it was one of the hardest conversations I ever had to talk to a talent about because, I mean, there were doubts in my mind if we were doing the right thing because I'm an old traditionalist, but also, one of my biggest thoughts was, Stu Hart had a territory. What would Stu Hart do if this was happening in his territory? And I kind of threw that out and tried to analyze that in my mind. Or what would Eddie Graham do? Or what would Jim Crockett do? You can't let your champion walk out with a title and with no guarantees that it's going to be returned to you. So talking to Earl, and I could see the look in Earl's face, the panic in his face, and I'm sure he saw the panic in my face too, because it wasn't an easy job to do or on either side of the deal. But I tell you what, knowing the Hebners like I knew, and that's the reason they were handpicked for this. I know the Hebners like I knew that they were company guys. I knew they would do what was best for the business at that moment. Now, and what we presented to them, and I had no doubt in my mind that he was the best guy to carry this thing out. and Earl was the best one to do it. I mean, Timmy White, God bless his soul, Timmy could have done it, but Timmy would have been a foil because Timmy was such an office guy, such so loyal to the just that something would have been suspected. We'd pulled Earl out, put Timmy in. I mean, everybody in the world would have known something was coming down, So we really had no choices. If Earl would have told me no, honestly, I don't know what the hell I would have done. I probably got on the bus. I probably would have got down the next flight of stairs, got in the car with Dave, told him get me out of the building because I wouldn't want to see Vince afterward. But it was tough. But when Earl nodded his head and said, "I'll do it," because I point blank, I looked at Earl right now. I said, "Tell me, Earl, tell me the damn truth. Are you going to do it or you're not going to do it? You got a choice right now." He looked me right square in the eyes and said, "Mr. Brisco, I'll do it," just like that. Right, Earl?
Right. But let me say this too. This is the truth too. Okay. If it had, and I'm not saying this just because of you, Gerald, believe me, but I'm saying this because of all the years I've been around you and your brother. And I don't think anybody there could have told me what you told me and I'd have went along with it. Because truthfully, in my heart, you were the person that was picked for this special as far as making me do what I did or making my mind up to do what I did, because any other agent, I don't think I would have really taken it to heart to do it is the way you gave it to me. And the person that you are to me and been around me for those many years, it was like the trust in my heart that I knew what you were talking about, and somebody else that I knew was okay, but I don't think I could have given the other person the same feelings from my heart that we gave each other from heart to heart.
Thank you. John, this is the first time Earl and I really talked about this thing like this. I mean, the very first time we've ever sat down and had this conversation, right, Earl? I mean,
right. I don't think we ever talked about it, period, till today.
Yeah.
Like we have today. Never.
And all this happened when Earl was preparing to go to the ring, right? I mean, this.
Yeah. The music was playing. Guys were going to the ring. And the referee was already supposed to be in the ring, but I stopped Earl. That's when I stopped Earl. Earl was getting ready when, Sean's music was getting ready to play and the Brett's music. I pulled Earl back to the corner, like I said, out of the sight of everybody, because I know if anybody would have saw me talking to Earl at that time, they would have known something was going on. So I couldn't talk to him in the beginning because Earl, I love him to death, and Earl wears a feelings in his face here. I mean, something going down. Earl's going to wear that feeling all day long. And I didn't want to put it, and all day long, Vince was asking me, "Have you talked to Earl yet?" "No, I haven't." "Well, you need to talk to him." I said, "I will." But when all day long, I was getting pestered. And Vince is the only one, of course, in my circle that knew what I was doing, So I didn't have to hide from anybody else. But I got where I was hiding from Vince because I knew I didn't want to put the pressure on Earl. All day long of walking through backstage and talking with Brett, going over the match and all that stuff. I didn't want to put that pressure on Earl at all. So I knew the best time to talk to him is on the way to the ring. So I took a calculated risk that I could convince him to do what the office needed to be done.
Earl, what did Dave say did you tell Dave right away? And that's when he came and got your stuff?
I told him to get my stuff, that this thing won't work right. I said the match is not working right, and that's all I said. Then I explained to him on the way to the hotel.
When you got down to the car, what was reaction? I mean, he obviously didn't know because he was waiting in the car for you.
No.
What did you tell him? Well, we got to get out of here now.
I said, get the hell out of here now.
Because everybody when you're pulling out of that Montreal exitway, there no fans are right on top of the car.
Right. You only had that one ramp, and they'd have tore that car to pieces and killed me probably, all of us. And then I got back to the hotel and I took all the furniture and put it at the door.
Were you getting phone calls and stuff like that all night long or what?
No.
Nobody knew where you guys were staying though, right?
Right. But I was scared to death somebody was going to kill me.
Me too.
But I did get out of Montreal.
Yeah.
When did you get out of Montreal?
We went to the, I went to the next TV after Montreal. Ottawa.
Yeah.
And then
that's when everybody Mick had walked out, and a couple of guys were threatening to walk out and all that stuff.
Right.
Did you get any harsh feedback that day, Earl, or guys basically on your side, or what?
Not really, because when Vince had that meeting in catering, he said Earl did what I asked him to do, and if anybody don't like it, he said you can stand up and come to my office, and I'll give you a release right now. And the only one at that time was Taker. Taker thanked me for what I did and said, "You did a good job. You did right." You know, a lot of people said it too, but Taker was the first one that approached me. He said, "If anybody gives you any shit, you let me know." I said, "Okay."
Wow. So, and what was it like right after that flying? I mean, you still had to fly out of Canada?
Yeah.
I'm surprised Customs let you out, or immigration let you out.
Right. But I think I had security going to the airport. I did. And after that,
you did. We had security for you going through the airport.
Right. Yep. But a guy, this is no shit. A guy, some promoter from Toronto, I can't think of his name. He called me up, and how he got my number, I don't know. He called me up and said, "I want to work a deal like Bret Hart on my show." He said, "I'll give you $5,000 to come over here and do that match, but I want to do the same finish." I said, "It'll take $10,000 to bury me. I ain't coming."
Yeah, because literally, if those fans could have got you in Montreal, they might have killed you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially doing the same thing again.
Yeah. So Jerry, who all knew?
Well, I can only go one. I was told. Kevin Dunn knew. Vince, of course, knew, and I think that. And now, I don't think anybody else knew. Not certainly in my circle, because I was traveling with Jim Roth, Pat Patterson, and Bruce Pritchard. And the night I was at the pre-production meeting in Montreal the night before. After production meeting was over with, Johnny and Earl have been to plenty of these production meetings. They're long, tedious, and you just want to get the hell out of there, and get out without getting the boss in your ear for anything. So we were wrapping up the meeting. Vince was wrapping up the meeting. Everybody folding their books up, their run sheets up. And when we got to the match, we laid out a finish like a normal finish, but the finish is to be determined, But Sean goes over, I think that was it. So as we were wrapping up, and I was getting ready to walk out the door in front of it, Brisco, I need to talk to you. Of course, the first thing that comes to my mind, well, what did I do? Why am I? What did I do? I know I've done screwed up, and Vince wants to talk to me. So I of course put my bag back down, and I sat down. Everybody got out of the room. There's a bathroom in the back. There's a big long conference room with a bathroom in the back. Vince walks back, opens the door, looks in the bathroom, closes that bathroom door. There's two sets of exit doors. He walks over to the first set, locks the damn door. Walks to the second set and locks the door. Now I'm thinking, damn, Brisco, what the hell did you do? All kinds of shit running through. Damn, Bradshaw, what did he get me into this time? So he sits down right across from me. He said, "I got to ask you to do something." He said, "You can tell me yes or no." And he said, "It won't affect our friendship, our relationship at all." So he said, "But this is what's going on." And he laid out the whole story, to all the conversations he had with Brett, the week and 2 weeks previous to the match and everything, and said, "I'm kind of in a predicament. How can we handle this thing?" So we sat down, and I asked him right off, "Vince, why me? Why you have me do this?" Because I never handled Brett matches. It was always Pat handling Brett's match because they were such tight friends and everything. So I said, why? He said, well, I can't let Pat do it because Pat's so emotional, so close to Brett that either through his emotions or his loyalty to Brett or just stumbling like Pat would do would let something out of the bag. He said, I can't go to anybody else because it would look out of place at anybody out of that top tier guys, you know, and I considered, I guess, at that time a top tier guy. And so he said, I'm kind of putting it in your hands. He said, figure it out. Do you have any suggestions? I said, well, let's go through a few, you know. And boy, and he said, then I came up with the sharpshooter thing. And, you know, like I said, it didn't take a genius to come up with that sharpshooter thing. And everybody in the business has taken credit for, well, hell, get him in a sharpshooter and ring the bell, you know. Well, I hadn't talked to everybody in the business, you know, about it. So I was just sitting across from Vince at the time. So about 2 hours later, Vince told me Sean was coming in a couple hours later because you guys had a house show, I think, in Detroit or somewhere afterward. You guys were coming in late that night. He said, get with Sean and go up and help Sean in case Brett tries something on him, but, you know, you can help him out with. So, and so I waited, and I was in the bar with Bruce, of course, and JR. The bartender said, Mr. Brisco, you have a call. So I told the front desk when Sean checks in to give me a call that I needed to talk to him. So front desk called me and he said, Sean's here. So I called Sean's room, went up to Sean's room. We worked out a couple of little things, mostly for self-defense, you know, wasn't aggressive stuff or anything like that, just what to do in case something happened to him. So Bruce, I thought Bruce would kind of catch on at that moment there. So it was a real stressful night for me. I didn't sleep, and I'm sure you know, nobody else slept that night. And the next night, of course, I didn't sleep either. You know, after the fact. But that was kind of how it was laid out to me, and so you know, I knew. I mean, it didn't take a genius. You know, when the finish as a sharpshooter, you know, and you know, he's supposed to tap out. So I'd known because reading the agent reports and all those matches prior to that, you probably handled every one of them. That was one of their high spots in the matches. When I was talking to Sean, I said, Sean, is there a spot where you know, you guys going? Because the thing to do is, Sean, as a champion, you got to put each other in your own finishes, you know, during the course of the match. So having that experience, and Sean says, yeah, I'll get him in the sharpshooter. I said, okay. That's the deal right there. Right when you get him in, I'll have the referee count a few seconds before he rings the bell. As Brett turns over, you know, because Brett turns over, you tap the mat, you know, as you're turning over. Not that you're tapping out, you're just tapping the mat to keep your balance, you know, as you're turning over. So I knew that spot would come, so I knew if there was a replay, well, right here, when he's turning right here, Brett tapping the mat. So, you know, just 2 and 2, a common sense type thing. So that's basically how me and Sean come up with what to do. And so after I met with Sean about 1 o'clock in the morning, Vince called me about 2 o'clock in the morning. Have you met with Sean? I said, yeah. You got it figured out? Yeah. He said, I won't know about it until tomorrow. He said, first thing tomorrow, he said, let's have breakfast and we'll talk about it. So I met for breakfast the next morning and kind of laid it out. And I kind of asked him, well, who knows? He said, of course, the truck knows. I said, well, who all in the truck? He said, Kevin. So Kevin, as far as I know, Kevin being Vince, and I mean, there might have been a couple others in the next year circle that knew about it. But as far as I know, we were the only three at that time. It was Kevin, Vince, and myself that knew what we were doing.
What did Sean say when you talked to him? Was that the first Sean had heard of this?
Well, Sean, Vince and Sean had kind of talked and we'll have to do something, but Sean didn't know what something was, you know. And I give the guy credit because we all know, you know, Brett was a pretty tough guy. Brett is a pretty tough guy. I mean, if I had to pick my winner in a fight between the two, I'd pick Brett 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, because the intestinal fortitude that Brett a little bit tougher, mentally tougher guy than Sean. I mean, doesn't make him a better athlete or anything, but Sean didn't know what we were doing, so that's when at first Sean heard how we were actually going to do the finish. Now, whether Sean went and told his inner circle guy, I don't think he did, because nobody came up to me during the course of the day. Which, if you know something, Ron's doing something and you know it, you're going to come up to me and kind of fill me out to see if I know. So nobody, and I touched base, and me and Sean were very careful that day about what our conversation with each other too. I kind of like, he's over this side of catering, I'm over this side of catering. We never, every once in a while, we kind of buzzed by each other in the hallway. Everything okay? Yeah. How about on your end? Yeah. Okay. So, but Earl didn't know until the music was hit. Until the music was hit. So
right.
It was something I don't think I would try to put myself through again today, or put anybody else through, especially a friend like Earl was through again today. And I mean. And then I'm thinking too, well, I got to go home. I got to face my brother, who's a traditionalist in this business, and because the phone off at the body shop the next day was ringing off the hook. Your brother screwed Brett. Your brother screwed Brett. I mean, right away it was my fault. I don't know how I got out that quick. It was my fault, but right away we were getting threatening calls at the shop and everything else. So I had to go home and face my brother. Once I laid it out to Jack, he said, "So what do you think?" He said, "You did the right thing." So that was the one guy that I wanted to make sure I had. But I wanted to call him that night, but I knew I couldn't call him that night to tell him, because I didn't want to keep him up all night long and worry about me, my safety getting out of Canada. So that was basically the story. I mean, it was a hectic night for both of us. Something we lived with for years, and me and Earl both had fun with it a little bit later on down during our careers, but it took a while for us to even relax enough to even talk to the casual friends about it. At least I did, Earl. I don't know about you.
I don't make a big issue of it. I've had what's his name, Conrad?
Yeah,
Thomas. He called me up. It was like a 25th anniversary of it, or whatever it was, and wanted me to be on his podcast. I told him, nope, I didn't do it. I said, nope, I'm not talking about the Bret Hart deal. I'm finished with it. I'm done with it. I don't need to talk about it. And I didn't do it.
Well, good. I feel the same way now. I mean, I'm finished with it, and it's a special occasion because you and I get to talk about it for the first time. And I really don't want to, I mean, it's there in history for anybody to read. We can't add anything to it or take away anything.
Right.
But it happened, and looking back, was it the right thing to do? Probably, and because of where the business was headed at that time, and
right.
With if Brett would go down there and hadn't been kicked in the head by Goldberg, who knows? It might have been beneficial for him too. But the way things worked out, he was the victim of the whole thing, and so. But I respect, just to get it clear, I respect Brett. I respect his championship run. I respect him as a champion just about as much as I do anything, because when he was wearing that title belt, he'd go out and he'd represent that championship as good or better than anybody in the history of our business.
Right. And the thing about it too is that Brett and I are friends now.
Sure.
He texts me when my brother passed away, and he texts me at Christmas and everything else. And like I tell these people that want to get the inside scoop, I go, we're friends, and I'm not about to stir the pot up no more. It's over with. It's done. I have nothing to say.
I feel the same way. I hope that Brett and I are friends. I mean, when we see each other, we don't get daggers through our eyes at each other anymore. No. So, I hope that he's over it. I know I certainly am, and I don't. And if it hadn't, because John and I even talked about it, because I really didn't want to talk about it in this episode, because we're not about that kind of stuff in this show here. We're well positive and everything, but hell, it's part of history. You just something that you really can't ignore. And when you have two of the major players in the same show here like that, it'd be remiss, or that our fans probably be pissed off if we didn't bring it up. So. Well, I appreciate you sharing your sentiments toward it. We're not here to bury anybody, and we both agree on our story. So if two out of the three people agree on what happened, it probably happened that way. So that's all I got to say.
Right. But Brett and I've been on a convention And they asked Brett if Earl's on this, is that going to bother? He said no, bring him on. And we were on one that they even took pictures of he and I together. So, you know, I don't need to bring back old memories. Brett and I are friends, and that's what I tell everybody. I have nothing to say.
Well, I'm glad. Number one, I'm more happy that you and Brett are put it beside you, and you guys are friends now, because that always really bothered me as a friend of yours and personal that I had to put a friend in that position. But that was our jobs, Earl. I mean, that was what we were paid to do.
Right.
And we did our job, and we did it to the best of our ability. But all through the years, I'd always kind of hit me up here that, man, I put Earl in a really unfortunate position. But unfortunately, you were the chosen referee that night.
Well,
because of that reason, because we knew you were loyal, and we knew you would see it the right ways.
Well, in all truth, like I said earlier, it had more to do with who told me than just a normal person. Truthfully, my hand to God.
Thank you, brother.
It means a lot. Because I don't know, truthfully, I don't even know if I don't listen to anybody else other than Vince. If Vince is sitting there, I believe that other than you, I don't believe that, because I don't know. People are just so full of shit anyway. And somebody that, like, I know, like I said, I've known you all my whole life. So I can trust you. From what you told me, I can trust you. Somebody else that I've been around 5 or 6 or 10 years, I didn't have the same bond with anybody else like I had with you. So I don't really know if I could have really trusted them that far for that much. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you, my brother. I mean, it means a lot to me for you to say that, because all these years, you know, I felt guilty. That's probably the reason why we never talked about it, because I probably felt the guiltiest one, because I put you in the middle of something that you know was very controversial at the time. It still is 25 years later, you know. But it is behind us now. So you and Brad are back friends, and that's the fantastic thing about this.
Yep. That's it.
And you know what was incredible about that, Jerry and Earl, is that was one of the pivotal moments in wrestling, because that created the evil Mr. McMahon, you know, which was this great character who feuded with Stone Cold, which was a side benefit from all this that WWE didn't know they were getting. And unfortunately, this great champion, and I always thought Bret Hart to me was the stereotypical world champion. You know, he looked like a world champion. He carried himself like a world champion. He wrestled like a world champion. I mean, Bret was a world champion now. That he was a world champion. Bret was the man for good reason. But when he went out in WCW, unfortunately, he got hurt, and they didn't get that champion. You know, so WWE came out of it the winner and all of it. So unfortunate circumstances for Bret. They were getting a great champion, but then he got hurt and wasn't able to wrestle.
He never got to prove his record down there.
That's right. That's right. Because he would have done great things down there as he did in WWE.
Right.
Because I can't tell you so many times when I saw Bret work with anybody. Bret could have a good match with anybody. At a 30-minute match. That guy he was special.
Yeah, they don't come along like that very much, you know, and we're fortunate to see the Bret Hart that was the champion, and the Bret Hart that deserved to be champion. And we were able to see that progression that carried when he first came into territory all the way up to when he was champion there. So we're all lucky to see that side of Bret Hart, you know, and so you know, he was a great champion. There's no denying it, but you know, it is what it is. Business happens, and you know, our business is a strange business to say the least. But you know, we all survived it, so that's the important thing. So